Transformation. I am going to pull up the live here. And for those of you inside of the membership, Inspired Femme Divine Spark membership, where we are elevating our reality, I want to welcome you here live to this 3-day training. I am so grateful for all of the women inside of this special collective, and I want to welcome the new members that have just come in. So this is a 3-part training, and you will see me live inside the group every day at 10 a.m. Pacific. And I'm also really excited because I'm now finally able to live stream into the group again. Some of you may know that I've been doing my live streams over on YouTube. And today, for the very first day, I'm introducing a concept, which is the concept of the magic of 3. And I'm going to be going into the magic of 3. And the way that I've structured our 3 days together of live trainings, the way that I've structured our 3 days together is, and I'm actually just going to make sure Tamra, I'm going to tag her because she's saying that she can't see me yet. Hold on one second. I just started up this live. Let me tag you. Okay, wonderful. Okay. So the way that the 3 days together will go, and if you can hop on live on, today or on Thursday, then that is wonderful. On Wednesday, we'll actually be all together inside the Zoom room. So you guys can have the option to be inside the room with me, and we can live stream together into the group. Wednesday is going to be, tomorrow is going to be especially potent because we're going to be going through a sacred geometry practice. So just to start out and welcome you to the Triad of Transformation, I'm going to share a little bit about what we're doing on each day so that you can understand the format of this program and of this training. And like I said, all 3 days will be recorded. So this membership is for spiritual and creative entrepreneurs who are interested in elevating their reality in their life and in their business. And as a collective, we're coming together and we're manifesting our dreams. So one of the principles that I introduced in a podcast, so we have a private podcast channel as well in Telegram, and I've released 7 different podcasts. On Mondays, I release alignment podcast. And on Wednesdays, I release spiritual business podcasts where I do more of like thoughts and how I'm applying these principles to my spiritual and creative business. And on one of the past trainings, I talked about how we actually manifest as a collective, and that's part of the magic of 3. And so the reason that I chose this to be a 3-day training, and to be really honest, this is a completely parts of this are completely fresh download that I've never shared anywhere in the past. And so I'm really excited to share it with this intimate community first. And we can start to play with some of these principles as we manifest. So if you are joining me live, you can let me know, where you're joining from. If you are a creative entrepreneur, a spiritual entrepreneur, or a little bit of both, and feel free to interact with this live. Feel free to interact and comment and share your answers to the questions and the different things that are dropping in. And then, as I mentioned, tomorrow, so like tonight, you'll receive an email with the Zoom link where you can actually be in the Zoom room with me, because we're actually going to be working with a bit of sacred geometry. And I have a special workbook that I've prepared for you that you can use for the whole 3 days that we have together inside of this powerful training. So I'm going to just grab, I've got my notes here, all of the different things that I want to cover today. And so today is like to start to open up to the magic of 3. Okay. And so intuition. So the 3 codes that I have for you that have been downloading are like, when we connect to our intuition and when we follow our intuition, it allows things to more easily open up and manifest for us. And so I'm going to explore all the different ways that 3s kind of come into play in our lives. And so over the next 3 days, we're going to dive today deeply into our intuition, listening to our intuitive guidance. Day 2, opening up to creativity. And I know we have a lot of artists in the group, and we have a lot of creative entrepreneurs in the group, opening up to creativity through sacred geometry. And so that's part of the reason why I'm sending out the workbook. And also, if you have my manifestation journal, there's some sacred geometry that is right in the very beginning of that. If you're inside Inspired Femme, then you receive this in the mail. So if you love this and you decide that you want to be a permanent, you want to go through a couple of months with us inside of the collective, then you can lock in that special rate that I offered for the people who joined Triad, and you can receive the manifestation journal in the mail. So we'll be opening up to our intuition even more, using the sacred geometry and opening up our creativity. And then day 3 is all about coming into alignment with nature and our own natural rhythms, our own natural frequency. And so the reason that I put that on Thursday is because it's the summer solstice. And I'm going to be sharing a summer solstice meditation that will help us to really code in that frequency of nature and ground into that. And so today, as we explore the magic of 3, I want you to start to think about what are like 3 magical things. And this is always interactive. So like you can write it in the comments. If you have a journal, you can just write it down in your notes. Or when I send you out the journal tonight, and I have to be honest that the journal is really new. I just channeled it. And so that's why it's kind of coming through me right now. So what are the 3 things that you're birthing or creating into the world right now? And so I will always tie this in with spiritual business practices, because I think that 95% of us have a soul business or a creative business. And so I always like to tie the trainings to the creative practices. So for me, it's like, I'll give an example just to help you. I'm an artist, so I'm always birthing new paintings and new canvases into the world. I'm also I love to create these kind of containers for the collective to really expand. And then the third one is like my retreats. And actually, I have 2 retreats right now, but I'm just going to say retreats is like the third arm of my business. So if you look at your business, you can look at like what are 3 like key offerings that you have. Or if your business is like completely an artist business, like what are 3 different kinds of creations that you're birthing into the world? So like, what are 3 things that feel really alive to you right now in your world? And we're going to be focusing on those 3 things over the next few days. And like, if you're live, if you drop a comment, if you can, it actually helps more members of the group be notified that I'm live now. I know that many of you said that Wednesday was better for you. So that's why I've put the live Zoom room on Wednesday to sacred geometry practice, so that we can all be together live. So I understand if people are going to be watching this later, and if you watch this later, if you do hashtag replay, that's extremely helpful, because again, just more people get the notifications that the live training is here. And I'll be pinning all 3 days in the very, very top so that people can see it. So the key concepts today that we're going to be discussing is the magic of 3 and how it relates to helping us to manifest, how it allows us to help us to create the things in our reality that we really, really would love to see. And I'm opening up right now the cover of the journal that you're going to be, or the workbook that you're going to be getting. And since I'm on Zoom, I should be able to do a little, let me see if I can get really fancy and do a Zoom screen share where you can see it. But I want you to think of the imagery. Oh, good. I can show you right here. I want you to think of like the imagery of a pyramid. So this is the workbook that you're going to get. And it's got this gorgeous pyramid on the cover. It also has a spiral, which we see in the galaxy. We see in the Fibonacci spiral, which is part of the sacred geometry, the portal that we're going to open tomorrow. Okay. So I love to tie the spiritual with the practical. And then there's the neutral, and there's that neutrality. And so this is what I'm going to go more into these concepts today, because it's something that I've been playing with in my own manifestation, my own creative practice in the past, over the past year for sure. And every time I play with this triad, it becomes more and more powerful. So you can think of this triangle and you can write the three things on each side that you're birthing in your business or that you're creating. I just like that word, that you're creating in your business right now. So think of a pyramid and then the power of the spiral. So really connecting us to that nature frequency, right? Like we see spirals in the galaxy, in little tide pools, in all of these different places, right? And so really fostering that deep connection to nature. So over the next 3 days, tuning into intuition, tuning into your creativity, and really finding ways to connect back to nature. And the solstice meditation will help you to do that. Okay. So let me just, now that I'm going to downsize that so I can see a little bit more. I don't have two screens. I'm not, super fancy. I have everything on my one screen. So if you comment and I don't see it right away, just know that I do read the comments on these lives. And it's also very generous of you to comment because it helps other members of the group to get to know you. And that's part of manifesting as a collective. So the pyramid, we have these. Generally, the magic of three means at the most basic level that we have opposing forces. So you can think of it as like a yin and a yang, and then we have a neutral force when we manifest. And that's how worlds are created. That's how nature actually creates. And this is how we create as well. Okay. So we might have something coming in, like an idea. I always talk about an idea coming into our crown chakra through the spiritual realm, really opening up to that. And we're going to do, that's exactly what we're doing tomorrow with the sacred geometry. We're opening up to that spiritual realm, to our ideas, to our inspiration coming in. Okay. And then we've got the practical, we've got the tangible, like what steps we're going to take, what things we actually need to do, what actions we need to do. And then we have the neutral. The neutral is really, really important because it's our ability to hold the space, our ability to create a spaciousness for what we'd love to create, what we are creating, what we are manifesting, and what we want to see in the world. And it's just that neutrality. It's that looseness. It's that being easy about things. It's that letting go almost once we've taken the action, and just trusting and just knowing that everything is working out exactly as it's meant to be. So I'm going to share at the very end of this how I'm using the magic of three to sell my art, fill my containers, and also book out my international elite retreats. Okay. So we've got duality, we've got positive, negative, and neutral. You can also think of this as energetics. And when I first came into the business coaching world, I was in a lot of business containers, which I loved, that were very like masculine and very doing focused, right? Like they were really focused on doing, or they were really focused on strategy. And what I found in myself that I felt was very unique is that I focused a lot on the energetics. And I've come to learn as I understand more and more that that's the feminine side of business, the receptive side of business, the tuned in side of business. So even in our business, and that's what I think makes me unique as a business coach, is I'm focused on, the masculine structures and having some structure in your business and having that strategy, and in the feminine side, which is receiving and being more in flow and following your intuition. And that works really, really well for people, especially if they've been really heavily focused on the masculine strategy. Some people, on the other hand, and a lot of creatives that I talk to are really in the flow and in the feminine, and they actually need a little bit more of that structure and that strategy in their business. And that's the masculine, the feminine. And then, of course, the neutrality, knowing that it's like when that third force, and there's some different laws in physics and in science about this, but when that third force comes into play, and I've been really trying to understand more and more of the science of it, my artist mind. But when that third force comes in, then that is where you have the magic and the manifestations and the creation happening, right? It's like sun and rain on the seed. And then I would say that the third force in that situation for a plant would be like time, right? That's the neutral, the spaciousness. So let me know if this is resonating. I'm really excited about this content and this material. I'd love to hear if it's resonating with you, if it's landing for you. So when I first started playing with this, I was talking about when we have an intention or something that we want to create in the shamanic world. And if you've ever read The Four Agreements by Miguel Ruiz, I hope I know I'm missing part of his name. I have it on the shelf Don Miguel Ruiz. There's a word that I love. It's called coherence. And when we have coherence in our business is when we can birth these amazing creations, which is part of the reason why I held on to this workshop until this week, because the timing really was right for me to finally speak and to take that action on it. So we have to have coherence. And so forcing yourself to do things when they're not quite ripe, or not doing things when it's time to do things, right? We want to have that coherence in our business. And I love to relate this to the body, the mind, and the spirit being aligned when you have an intention. Sometimes what we have is we have our mind telling us that we should do something, but our heart isn't really in it. And I saw one of my clients, she's going on a retreat with us to Italy, and she posted about authenticity and how authenticity is really one of her core operating, her core beliefs. And it really got me thinking about we can't trick, we try to trick the mind, but the heart knows, right? And so when our heart and our mind, and then we embody it, we take action, when those three things are aligned, we have coherence in our business and in our projects, in our intentions, what we would really like to bring forth into the world. Okay. And so when we integrate, like another way to think about this is thought, emotion, and then just our being, our existence, right? It's like the power of the mind, the power of the heart, which we've learned is even more magnetic than the mind. And authenticity is even more magnetic than the heart. And so if you have the heart's magnetism and your own authenticity on board, it's really, really resonant. Your creations, they resonate. People, the right people come to you at the right time. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but every time I've been on a 23-year journey with yoga, and every time I've needed a new teacher or a new mentor, kind of like the right teacher has appeared, right? I've experienced that as well in the online space, or just with wanting to learn new things. So I'm going to talk now a little bit about the neutrality. And this is something that I shared inside of my second round of my quantum business mastermind called Ascend, which right now is it's running as a course all summer. What I shared was we need to cultivate that neutrality, because when we're like, it's like a magnet, like when we're too attracting, we attract, right? And then we can repel. But when we have that neutral around some of our desires, we just know that they just flow more easily. They bubble up more naturally into the world. Okay. And it allows for balance. And this is where something new then actually comes through and is created, because we have our intention, we have our desire, and then we have the neutrality, or that spaciousness. That's like the time with the plant to allow it to really emerge. So that is the key principle that I wanted to share today. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this triad, and then I have some questions that I'm going to ask you. So the triad can also be thought of as thinking, feeling, and doing. So when we think about thinking, feeling, and doing, we have the power of our minds, of what we know we want to do, or what we've set out to do. And then we've got the feeling. And to me, the feeling is kind of like the pixie dust or the magic. It's like really getting in tune with that heart space. I shared a live training. I believe it's inside this group. It's where we anchored in light, and we created that resonance in the heart space. It's an exercise that I've shared inside of Inspired Femme. So when we have the magic of our heart behind something, what we really truly love and care about creating. And then the third part of this trinity is the doing. It's like the taking the inspired action. Now, I'm like kind of like a massive action taker, but I also kind of had to recover from a little bit of burnout from being too much of a doer earlier in my business life, doing all the time, right? So we need to balance that, and we need to find harmony with this trinity of thinking, the feeling, and the doing, the inspired action. The inspired action is the magic. That is part of how we co-create with the universe, because it's not all just us, right? And that's the other idea behind the triad or the trinity, is that we're not creating without source, right? We're not creating without this kind of larger purpose or intention for creating. And this is how we're going to anchor it into our reality. So the way that we can really anchor it into our reality in a more in a practical way, and this is how I'm using it to sell my art, to create this incredible collective that's growing every week, and to create sold out retreats internationally, and now I have one locally.